Welcome to Being Intrepid, where each conversation is a front row seat to how bold leaders are reimagining learning to meet the moment and shape what's next. I'm your host, Sam Herring. For the past 25 years, I've been building and leading learning companies to help people grow and organizations thrive. For our regular listeners, today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Normally, we focus on the stories of business and learning executives from across the industry, but today we're going to go behind the scenes to look at some real world examples of how generative AI can personalize learning for individual learners. One example we're going to look at today is actually the things we're doing here at Intrepid with our new AI activity feature. Think of this as a generalized all-purpose feature that allows you to create realistic, personalized learning scenarios in mere minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about what the feature is, why we built it, and what it means for the future of learning and designing with AI. I'm delighted to be joined today by JR Burch, Intrepid's Director of Learning Experience Design. He's been at the front lines of ideating, prototyping, collaborating with our customers on this feature. JR, welcome to Being Intrepid.
Hey, Sam. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Absolutely. Really psyched to have you here, JR, because you've been absolutely at the center from the beginning of this. So, JR, I always like to ask our guests before we kind of get into the nitty gritty, just share us a little bit about your background and something that's inspired you to in your career now that you've got this AI superpower that you've helped us bring to market. Tell us, what led you to this point?
Yeah. So I've been in L&D for, I don't know, going around 17 years, I think, and I've worn just about every hat, I think. I've from facilitator, instructional designer, program manager, LMS admin, consultant, all of that stuff. So I feel like I've seen L&D from just about every angle. And along the way, I was in learning to design at AT&T and T and Walmart and now Intrepid. AT&T, we worked on large scale onboarding and training initiatives. And at
Mm.
Walmart, we helped transition us, our part of our biggest leadership program, into a virtual format that kept the experience strong, but allowed us to reach a broader audience. And then now at Intrepid, I lead our learning experience design team, and we work with companies to help them shift from that traditional content heavy learning to more modern experiences that are practical, collaborative, things that actually help move the needle. Because a lot of organizations are still stuck in that old model, the point and click, check the box completions. And we work with them to help them break out of that cycle, build something better and more meaningful.
That's awesome. And I would just say for those of you who haven't experienced JR's design for collaboration courses that are open, I think we have one opening up just next month. I would say, in addition to what JR's shared, he's really a master. Well, you did say he's a facilitator, but he's a real expert in helping organizations and learners, learning designers reimagine what it is to develop a less content focused learning experience and more of a true collaborative and applied learning experience. So, really excited to dive into this conversation, JR. Um, as we talked about a little bit in the intro, you've really led the charge over the last several months, working with our customers to help prototype our new AI activity feature. Really imagine, the art of the possible, as it were. So, can you share a little bit, like going, kind of peel back the onion a little bit for us? Tell us, like, why did we think about this AI activity feature, and what inspired some of the work that you started out with our customers? What problems were did you see that could be solved?
There's probably a couple of things there. I think the first thing is one of the big reasons that people come to Intrepid and our clients come to us is because we help them solve this big challenge that's hard to do in traditional LMS environments. And that's we want people to actually practice, to apply their skills in realistic situations, but we don't have the time, we don't have the budget, we don't have the resources for that. So this is something that we've been doing for years by allowing users to
Mhm.
be a part of and contribute to the learning experience through discussions, missions, projects, peer feedback, all of that stuff. People have always been able to create a community of learning and share knowledge, experiences, and practice. But now AI has opened up all new kinds of possibilities that we wanted to explore. And when we looked at what others were doing, the L&D industry as a whole was buzzing with AI tools that promised to make learning content faster. So, upload a PDF and auto-generate a course. But to us, the thing is, nobody's asking for more content. Most companies already have more content than they know what to do with. So, and it's not really moving the needle any. Their learners click through it, but they're not really applying it. It's just the same old point and click stuff. So we kind of looked at it as we don't have a content problem. We have a practice and application problem. So that's what we built AI to, or AI activity to solve and help us take what we've already been doing and just kind of take it to the next level. And I think you mentioned it. You can, AI activity allows you to build something that's completely personalized to your unique use case, and you can do it in minutes. It adapts to the learner's input. It still feels real, and it
Yep.
scales across your entire organization. So it's just a whole new way to design the learner experience.
Fantastic. And JR, you mentioned the kind of the practice opportunities here, and what did you see across the market? Like with some of these canned role plays and other kind of out of the box features that that I mean, of course, there's a lot out there right now. Like how is what we're doing with Intrepid with the AI activity feature different from some of the other practice types of applications you've seen out there?
So when we looked at this activity, one of the things behind it was if we look at all of our clients, every client is they're in a different business, they have a different
Mhm.
audience, they're solving different problems, different challenges. So how do you make something that can be anything to everyone? And when you look at things that are out there, some of the things that are out there that are more generic, kind of off the shelf, it may solve part of a problem for a user, but it probably is not going to solve all of it. And in some cases, it may be too generic to even use. So we wanted to be
Yeah.
very specific and allow our clients to build exactly what they needed for their exact use case, for their exact role, for their exact business, something that's unique to them, but also make it really easy. And that's one of the things we saw that just wasn't out there. How can you be very specific to to solve a problem, but also make it really easy to build?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, gosh, I mean, just aside from the generative AI conversation is so often we run into customers that, very large organizations that, want something adapted for their policy, their products, their culture. And so that makes a ton of sense. Um, you know, JR, you have really spent, a lot of time working in many different scenarios, and I think you've probably had to learn to kind of think differently about designing an AI. Sometimes I think you see it as relatively easy, but I think there's a lot of people out there who are a little stuck or maybe a little bit fearful, perhaps, of something new. So, what are some new skills or mindsets that you think designers need to embrace to be successful designing effectively with AI?
It's a good question. I have evolved a lot over the last, I don't know, year or so, just in working with it and trying to build this and figure out what exactly is needed. And I think one of the things I've figured out is that to be effective with AI, you have to shift from uh, being a content creator
Hmm.
to that mindset. You have to shift from content creator to more of an experience architect, if you want to call it that. It's less
Mm.
about delivering information and more about designing interactions that lead to insight. So one skill that's become really important is scenario thinking. Can you craft a
Mm.
situation that feels real, that puts the learner in a meaningful moment of discussion, and
Hmm.
that can prompt reflection or behavior change? You also, I think you have to get comfortable with designing for variability.
Hmm.
The AI isn't going to follow a script. It's going to adapt based on whatever the learner has responded with. So you need to think about what good guidance looks like when there isn't just one right answer.
Yes, yes. In the AI parlance, is the non-deterministic outputs, right? We don't
Right.
know exactly where it's going to go. So if you were to kind of sum that up into, is there one thing do you think instructional designers who are traditionally trained need to unlearn to be successful in designing with AI? What would you say that might be?
It's my favorite phrase, unlearn. We use that to design for collaboration course. Um, I think you have to unlearn the habit of over-engineering everything.
Mm,
Because
mm,
when you think about traditional e-learning, the job is to script every word, to cover every angle, anticipate every question, wrap it all up in this nice little bow, and you're actually rewarded for control. You're,
yeah,
making sure nothing is left to chance.
yeah.
But with AI, that level of control actually gets in your way. If you try to
Mhm.
overscript an AI, it loses its flexibility. It starts to feel forced or robotic. And the power of AI is that it can adapt, but you have to give it the room to do that. So, what I've had to get comfortable with is leaving space, letting a question sit, trusting that a well-placed prompt can spark deeper thinking than a three-paragraph explanation that I would write as a piece of content. And that can be uncomfortable at first because it feels like you're leaving something unfinished, but you start to see that that's exactly the point with AI. You're creating the space for the learner to finish it, to bring their own thinking, their own context, and their own judgment into the experience. And that shift it's not just technical, it's philosophical. It's moving from I need to teach you everything to
Yes,
I need to create the conditions for people to learn what matters most.
yes.
That's a big unlearning. And it's hard. It's a hard shift for a lot of people I found in just discussions over the last few months. It's a really hard shift that's super, super valuable.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, it's like you said earlier, JR, it's the continuation of a journey and a philosophy of learning that we've always embraced. It's not about content delivery, it's about creating those conditions where people can practice and apply and
Yep.
do, but this is a super powered, turbocharged way to do that. So love that, love that. So if looking ahead, put on your future ball cap here. How do you see AI transforming the ways that we can create and deliver amazing learning experiences, like in the next few years? Like what's exciting to you about what's next or what's possible?
Oh, is it not just turning my PDF into a class really fast? Is that the important one? No, I would say that, you start to think about AI is less about content, more about context.
Yeah.
And we should be heading into a world where learning is it's connected to the work that people are actually doing, where AI
Mhm.
uses workflow data to personalize learning
Mhm.
in the moment, not just
Mhm.
after the fact. That's kind of the
Yep.
shift that I'm most excited about. It's
Yep.
still a ways off, and I think there are some transparency concerns and data privacy and things like that. But
Sure. Sure.
right now, most learning still lives outside of the flow of work.
Hmm.
We still like to use that phrase a lot in L&D, but it's even now, it's still something you go do after a task or a project.
Right.
AI gives us the ability to start to flip that, right? You can start
Yeah.
creating learning that's context aware because it's responding to what something someone's actually working on. It's delivering support, practice, or feedback just at the right time. And if you think about, email, Teams, Slack, SharePoint, Google Docs, all of the stuff that you work on, it's all there. It's all data points. And
Yep.
when we can connect to workflow data like that, things like your role, your project history, your performance patterns, we're no longer guessing at what people need. We're delivering learning that's relevant, immediate, and useful. And that's how you move, to me, that's how you move from compliance-driven learning to real performance support.
Yeah, absolutely. And it reminds me, JR, of a recent conversation we were having with a leader of a sales enablement organization, and their vision, which is, I think, a reality. It is an emerging reality where you could have deals that a salesperson's working on that are super dynamic in a CRM, and that's that is the basis for creating a highly personalized role play for, for to optimized for one person at one moment in time. So, absolutely, I love what your vision there.
And even like now with the AI activity, we've got scenarios like we've been asking clients, what would you build? If you could make
Yeah,
anything, what would you build?
yeah.
There are times where clients want to create a scenario where it's kind of baked in on the back end, and then you go through the scenario. Everybody starts at the same place, but where you end up is different depending on, how you're applying the knowledge you've learned. But then there are other times where exactly what you said, clients have asked, what if, can we have the learner put in their own scenario? So
Hmm.
we've been working on, we've created scenarios where if you're a salesperson, put in your exact deals, describe the customer that you're working with,
Hmm.
their personality, their quirks, what do they like, what do they don't, and all of those things through previous conversations, you can build a role play that you're almost, you know, practicing with the real person in this safe environment. And beyond that, now you as an admin, you get all kinds of data, right? You get learner data. The more that you ask people to put back into the platform, you're actually seeing what are these conversations look like? How are they actually applying the skills that we're teaching before they get out into the real world? I can see it now in a safe environment. We can coach towards that and we can make them feel more comfortable when they go to the real thing. It's really cool
Yeah,
stuff.
and JR, it kind of it also reinforces what you said earlier about the what to unlearn is kind of like letting go of a control, even of maybe even designing the role play itself, because really what you're saying is that the learner is optimizing and designing it for themselves, and that's kind of takes the design, letting go and trusting the learner even more with that.
Yep. It's a whole new way. You're not designing content anymore. You're designing instructions. You're designing how, like I mentioned earlier, you're designing a conversation. That's completely new and unique to people. But
Yeah.
it's really not that difficult once you really get into it. And like I said, we've made it where within just a couple minutes, you can have one of these full-blown role plays or scenarios built out and doing things that even, 6 months ago or a year ago weren't even possible in any of your learning environments.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's think about you've gained a lot of wisdom working on this over the last, year plus. What's one thing that you would advise a chief learning officer, a learning leader who's listening today, um, what's one thing they can do to really realize the potential of AI to personalize learning, or get the greatest value out of learning for their organization?
I think the biggest thing is in that mind shift. That seems to
Mm,
be the most difficult thing for people to grasp is
yep.
letting go of some of the control, but
Mhm.
also learning how to create the guardrails to still get people where they need to be. So it's for the learning leaders, the CLOs, it's about the biggest thing would be encouraging that change in mind shift of not just how you view AI, but how your teams do, and you need to lead by example. And you
Hmm.
have to
Hmm.
stress to your teams that this isn't just a way to do things we've always done and do it faster. It's like the smallest part of what we can do in learning with AI. Because largely what we've, taking what we've done and just doing it faster, what we've always done largely doesn't work. So the AI is not here to crank out more slides and automate your backlog. It's a chance to do things that we couldn't do before. So like the personalized coaching at scale, practicing those tailor specific, role or practices that are tailored specific to a particular role or a business group, real-time feedback, learning that adjusts to someone and the actual flow of things. You have to start creating space for experimentation. Let your teams test ideas, prototype,
Hmm. Hmm.
try it, learn from what works. You don't need to start with this massive initiative. Just start with something, a meaningful problem and explore how AI could solve it differently. And I think the leaders who unlock the full potential of AI and learning, they're the ones that will be asking what new value can we create with this, not how do we
Hmm.
plug it into what we already have.
Yeah, I love that. So thinking about new problems that could be solved, trying things in new ways, creating this space, for experimentation. That was a big theme in our ATD, on the floor podcast from many leaders, which was be curious, to create that space to try new things is really, really key. So, JR, thank you so much for joining us today. You brought,
Yeah.
your hard-won wisdom over the last several months to
Deep in the
year,
trenches.
deep in the trenches. I see it every day. It's so inspiring, the work you do with our customers, and I mean, gosh, we can't make up the superlatives that they're that they're telling us, when they see the possibilities. So thank
Yep.
you for all you do, and thank you for sharing this wisdom today. So I know our audience is gonna walk away with more than a nugget or two today. So thank you.
You bet. This was fun. Thanks for having me, Sam.
Absolutely, JR. So, hey, for listeners out there, if you're curious to learn more about the AI activity capabilities that JR has described, we'd love to show you what's possible. Of course, you can visit our website, and to learn more and contact us. You can also just DM me if you're interested. Um, and if you're a learning leader who's curious, just please take to heart JR's advice. Don't just use AI to do the same old stuff faster. Let's use it to try to do bold new things together. So, thank you
Yep.
so much for listening to Being Intrepid. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can follow us on our podcast page on intrepidlearning.com, or you can jump right to Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you track and follow podcasts. So until next time, keep asking the hard questions, chart your own course, and keep on learning. Thank you.